What's poppin', y'all? On this week's Am I the A-Hole, we have a bunch of stories about relationships. Whether you're chronically late or you don't even realize that you're the problem. These stories seem to cover a bit of everything. Why don't you drop a sub and let's jump into it. Am I the a-hole for leaving my friend in another country? So a couple years ago, me and 3 other lads went on holiday to Cyprus. We all got along great and we've gotten along for 4 years while in uni. This one guy in our group, we'll call him Ellis. Why? Because that's his name. That's a random name to call, like just to pull out of your back pocket. Ellis, a totally fake name, not his real name. He's the type of guy to say that he'll meet us at a train station at 8, and then we'll call him almost at 8, and he'll be like, I'm just getting in the shower. He'd be late for his own graduation, wedding, or funeral. So 5 days after sunbathing, drinking, and eating food, it's our final day. We're all chilling in the villa, and Ellis decides to go for a hike. No stress, we have 7 hours to leave. He heads off and we say we'll all get his stuff in the car ready to go. It was all packed anyway. 3 hours go by and we give Ellis a call saying that he needs to turn back now. He says no problem and starts his journey back. He's having a coffee at a cafe. Maybe don't, bud. Maybe just head back. Another 2 hours go by. We call Ellis and he says he's on his way back. He doesn't sound like he's moving. He's at a cafe like a 3-hour walk away. It's a Sunday, we don't really know any taxi numbers or anything, and we give him a call saying that he needs to get a lift back to the apartment or meet us at the airport. He's like, no worries, lads, I'll run back. We try to plead with him to just get a taxi, but he's really frugal and won't get a taxi, so we text him saying that his suitcase is at the villa and we'll have to leave as our taxi was booked at the last minute anyways. He says that's fine, he'll make it back in time. He doesn't. He didn't even try to make it back quickly. Dude, this guy is just like Zoro from One Piece, man. Like, if you do not wrangle him in, he will go off and take a million years to get back to you, and he'll probably never find his way. You gotta wrangle people like that in. 3 hours later, we're sat on the plane and we get a flurry of texts saying, I'm back now. Where are you? When's the taxi coming to pick me up? What do you mean? When's the taxi coming to pick you up, dude? You had to call it. You have to plan your own crap. They're on the plane. They did everything right. We had to tell him that we just got on the plane and he needs to get the next one. He was fuming. His parents and girlfriend kicked off at us, but I can't help but feel like he deserved it. Am I the a-hole? You know, when I read the title for this, I really thought that this was going to be one of those situations where, like, this guy was such an a-hole. He was such a jerk that we decided to just ditch him at the country and head back home. But he was just really bad with time. He did not understand time management. He didn't understand the gravity of the situation he was in, and he wanted to do what he wanted to do. So, hey, he gets to sit there and reap the benefits of his actions, which unfortunately, there's no benefits here. He just has to deal with the fact that he's got to figure out a new plane home, probably has to buy a new ticket, probably has to do a lot of random shit just to get frickin' home. At least you didn't take his suitcase, right? At least you didn't take his passport. You didn't take his ability to leave the country. He needs to take this as a lesson. There is no possible way on this earth that this is y'all's fault, okay? Like, you did everything you could. The fact that you had your location on for him and you knew how far away he was, you did everything in your power other than being like, okay, I will buy you the taxi, because it's not your responsibility. He's the one that chose to dick off the last day knowing that he had to catch a flight that day, and he's the one that's going to have to find his own goddamn way back. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. What is wrong with this dude? He's fuming. His girlfriend and his parents are mad at you guys because you were all responsible and he wasn't. How does that make that make sense? Okay? Make that make sense. You can't, because it's dumb. But let's see what other people think. One commenter says, not the a-hole. You tried. He just didn't listen. Hope he takes this as a learning lesson about being late everywhere will get you nowhere. Yeah. I don't think he's gonna, but yeah. Sounds like he's going to blame everybody else, being like, what do you mean you should have told me that I only had a couple hours? What do you mean you should have called me and told me to come back sooner? What do you mean you should have been more adamant about me coming back? You know how I am. I'm spacey. I don't give a fuck about anybody else's problems. So, like, you should try harder, right? You didn't even order me a taxi, bro. I got back with 10 minutes until the flight left. You were already on a plane, but bro, you should have stalled that plane. You should have gone up. I don't even care if you need to hijack that plane. You should have got it out, and just went up there and been like, you gotta wait for my friend. He's chronically late to everything, and I don't even think he's gonna make it here for another couple hours. But you gotta wait. What were they supposed to do, bro? Like, There was nothing within their power other than them multiple times over trying to get you to understand that you need to get back, that you need to get there, but you did not listen. You do not care. You think you are more important than everybody else because clearly you wouldn't have done that without that feeling. Maybe you needed to be taken down a peg, left in a country where your friends all did everything right, and hopefully you learn a lesson from this. But it sounds like you didn't. It sounds like you're not going to. And honestly, I wouldn't travel with this guy again. I don't know. This would be enough for me to be like, hey, dude, if you don't apologize to me, I'm good. Like, you can go screw yourself. But I'm quick to exit people out of my life who are not respecting my time and not respecting me as a person. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to know yours. Why not drop it in the comment section? Am I the a-hole for telling our daughter that she doesn't have the right to mourn or go to her ex-friend's funeral after what she did? When my daughter was in school, she became friends with a girl named Kelly. They stayed close throughout college, and my daughter was even one of Kelly's bridesmaids when she got married. To explain where my daughter's behavior came from, my ex-husband cheated on me repeatedly, and our marriage ended horribly. My daughter doesn't speak to her father anymore, and she absolutely despises cheating. About 7 years ago, my daughter became convinced that Kelly was cheating on her husband. She started harassing Kelly online and essentially blew up her life. By the time that my daughter found out that the man she had seen Kelly with was actually a relative, they were at a fancy restaurant together. It was too late. Kelly's marriage had already fallen apart. And because we live in a very religious community, she was ostracized by many people. That poor woman. You were her friend. You were her bridesmaid. Why wouldn't you just talk to her? They had a huge falling out. And it basically came down to my daughter ruining Kelly's life. Kelly blocked her on everything and eventually moved away. Kelly hated my daughter after that, and so did her mother. I still run into Kelly's mother occasionally, and she had made her own feelings about my daughter very clear. The issue is that Kelly recently passed away. My daughter found out through a Facebook post, and the funeral is this weekend 2 states away. My daughter was planning to attend the funeral, and I told her that I thought it was a terrible idea. She said that she needed to go, and I told her again that she shouldn't. We got into an argument, and she said that she had every right to mourn her friend and attend the funeral. I told her that she really didn't have a right to mourn Kelly or go to the funeral because Kelly hated her after everything that happened, and because my daughter had destroyed her life. She hasn't spoken to me since, and now I'm wondering if I should warn Kelly's father that my daughter might show up at the funeral. Or am I in the wrong here? I think when one passes, we sometimes really think about everything that could have been, everything that was, and everything that should be. And maybe your daughter, OP, was thinking about all the things that she needed to say that she didn't get the chance to because Kelly didn't let her, which was Kelly's right. Now that Kelly is gone, she does not have that option to block her, right? She does not have that way to say, no, I am not accepting your apology. I'm not letting you do this to me. And you know what? OP's daughter here did something incredibly terrible that ruined Kelly's life, ruined Kelly's marriage, and ruined their friendship. She had a lot of opportunities before this to try and mend stuff, to try and do something, but honestly, Kelly didn't want that, and that was Kelly's right. She wants to go to Kelly's funeral to get her pain off her chest. She wants to feel better about all the things that she did, when honestly, I don't think that's what Kelly would have wanted. Now, maybe that's horrible of me to put that on somebody who has passed, but I really think that if Kelly wanted to mend things, if Kelly wanted to give them that opportunity, they would have when she had the opportunities in life. But she blocked her. She moved 2 states away to make sure that she got away from this person and decided, I want nothing to do with you. She is not your friend anymore. She stopped being your friend, OP's daughter, the second that you started blowing her life up. That's not what friends do. You thought that she cheated. I know that you have trauma about that, but that doesn't give you the right to not at least give them the chance to explain themselves. And that's what you did. You took away their choice, their opportunities, their everything. You took away their marriage, their friendship, so many things. You have to live with that for the rest of your life. You don't get to go to her funeral and do this big confession at her gravestone, telling her all the things that you wish you would have when she was alive. Wish you would have changed things because you did it. People change, people grow up, and people understand, but she's never going to forgive you. And if you're looking for forgiveness from her family, from something like that, you're not going to get it, OP's daughter. This feels incredibly selfish. She moved 2 states away from you, not only get away from you, but probably to get away from the community, but mainly to get away from the person who probably blew up her life and ruined so many things that were going good for her. You don't get to just show up. You don't get to call her your friend now that she's gone. She hasn't been your friend for a long time. And OP, I think you did the right thing trying to steer her into some sort of understanding that this woman, Kelly, hated your daughter, wanted nothing to do with her, and how much it might hurt everybody there if she just shows up. That's not right. It's not right, and it's selfish. It's self-gratifying, and I really wish she doesn't do it. But it seems people like that don't typically take advice. They just do what they want regardless. So OP, you are not the a-hole for doing this. You did everything in your power to try and get them to understand. It is what it is. Am I the a-hole for deliberately giving my chronically late friend the wrong time? I, 20 female, have a friend who is chronically late. I'm not talking about 5 or 10 minutes either. If we agree to meet at 6, she'll usually show up around 6:45 or 7. We've talked about it so many times, and every time she apologizes and says she'll do better. It's caused problems before. She was almost an hour late to another friend's birthday dinner, and we lost our reservation. She was also late for a friend's going away party and almost missed it because of everyone already started to say their goodbyes. Once she was supposed to pick me up for a doctor's appointment and showed up about 50 minutes late. So I had to take an Uber and ended up missing the appointment. I had to pay a cancellation fee to reschedule it. And I can also name about 20 other instances that she's done this exact same thing. The thing that really gets me is if someone else is late, even by 10 to 15 minutes, she will sometimes make a huge deal about it. It's happened maybe twice, so I don't really want to exaggerate it, but it definitely feels hypocritical given how often she's late herself. At the point that our friend group has basically learned to just expect it from her. You know, I think everybody's got at least one of those friends. Last week, a few of us were going out for dinner, and we had a reservation for 6:30, so I told everyone to be there by 6:15. She said she'd leave her house at 6. Let's see. At 6:20, she's texting saying she's leaving now. I was honestly fed up, so I DM'd her that the reservation was postponed at 7 instead. Everyone else knew what I'd done. We got there at 6:15, had dinner, and when she finally showed up at 7:35, she was obviously pissed that we were already eating. Then show up on time! You can't expect everybody else to wait for you. You are not the most important person in your friend group. But people who are chronically late seem to think that way for some reason. She asked why I'd lied to her, and I told her that when I give her the actual time, she doesn't show up for an hour anyway. She said that was completely different, and that I deliberately set her up to be late. She also said that she trusted me to give her the correct time and that I had no right to teach her a lesson. I told her that I was tired of constantly waiting for her and having everyone else's plans revolve around her lateness. She called me manipulative and said that she doesn't want to make plans with me anymore. Edit. A lot of people are asking why I didn't just give her an earlier time. We actually tried that. We tell her things started 30 minutes earlier, and eventually she figured it out and started treating it as a fake time too. At this point, the entire friend group is just exhausted. We've all waited for her, missed reservations because of her, rearranged plans around her, and heard the same, "I'm sorry, it'll never happen again," speech a dozen of times. I think everyone was pretty much at the point where nobody wanted to keep accommodating it anymore. I know lying to her wasn't exactly mature and a little petty on my part, but I was honestly so frustrated and I wanted her to understand how ridiculous it feels when somebody constantly treats your time like it doesn't matter. Am I the a-hole? This is such a hard thing to deal with, especially if you're constantly, I don't get how somebody's constantly late. I understand ADHD. I am on ADHD meds because I have ADHD, and I don't understand this level of just chronic lateness. I don't think it's ADHD at that point. I feel like it is a choice. It has to be, because you can set alarms, you can set reminders, you can do what you have to in order to make it to a place. If you know everybody's always complaining about you being late, get there early. Leave an hour early if you need to. Plan to leave an hour early because you know that you're an hour late, but you don't care. Those people are so self-absorbed sometimes. I don't get what's going on in their brain to think that everybody's always going to wait for you. What is going on in your brain, OP's friend, to think that you just are magically going to continue to have friends even though you constantly screw them over? Dude, you should have had to pay the rescheduling fee. Now, maybe there's a little bit of an argument to be said that she shouldn't have depended on a friend that is always late. Why depend on that friend? But maybe she didn't have a choice. OP might have just done what she had to do. But you want to be gracious to someone like this. You want to believe that they're going to get better. You want to believe that they care enough to do something to change, to better your friend group, and to be a better person after so many times of screwing people over. You think that after getting somewhere and seeing your entire friend group having a blast without you, eating a bunch of food, you might make a conscious effort to be like, okay, no, I need to change this. I need to be here because I don't want to miss out on great moments with my friends. But no, instead, she thinks that she's the life of the party. She thinks she's the most important person. She thinks everything revolves around her, and her being late is that like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm late. I'm always late. I'm always the last person to show up, so you know it's a good time when I do. Like, no, no, it's not. People are always constantly annoyed at you. And then they say things behind your back. Is that really what you want? I would love to live a life to where nobody ever has anything to say behind my back. We have somebody in our friend group that we've heard multiple people say the exact same thing about. And it's this. It's that she's always late. She does not prioritize getting there on time. She does not prioritize your efforts. And it was to a point that like we're getting so annoyed that we're about to start telling her the wrong time so she shows up on time. I literally had to pick her up. We planned over 2 weeks in advance for her to be picked up by us. We were going to go out to an event that they were working and we were going to drop them off, right? So we text them a couple hours before. We say like, hey, we're getting ready. We're going to come over soon. We text them, we're like, hey, we're on our way. We hope you're getting ready. It takes us over a half an hour to get to their place. But you want to know what? As soon as we got there, the second we started to get there and we pull up, we're like, hey, where you at? We're ready to pick you up. They're like, oh, hey, just park. Come inside. I'm still getting ready. They just started getting ready. The moment we got there and I had to sit in a car for almost 45 minutes. You need to prioritize other people besides yourself because everybody is slowly getting this bad taste in their mouth when they say your name. And that's frustrating, isn't it? Because they're a genuinely good person. They're fun to be around. They're super nice. It's just this one thing that makes you want to punch yourself in the face every time you think that you have to do anything with them. Because you know what's happening. You know what's going to happen. And there's no way to avoid it. So honestly, I think this is perfect. Tell them the wrong time, tell them a better time, tell them whatever you have to, but try to make it convincing because if they are figuring out that you're telling them the wrong time and they're just screwing off anyway, then don't tell them a time at all. Don't invite them to things. Be done with the action like you already did with dinner by the time they get there because it's to a point where it is ruining the friendship already. So, is it really worth keeping? Am I the a-hole if I refuse to move out because my roommate's new girlfriend is uncomfortable with me, even though we never met? After being randomly paired together, I, 30 female, have been living with a slightly younger man, 26 male, for the last year with relatively no major issues. I've become fairly good friends with my roommate. We watch TV, movies occasionally, we have dinner or lunch every few months. Regular chit-chat and passing when we're in the same space, and while we're both straight, we seem to have completely opposite taste in partners and have never really once expressed even the slightest bit of romantic interest in each other, or nothing that I've perceived as such anyways. A few months ago, my roommate started joining the dating apps and stuff, and recently, he's found a girlfriend. Around the third date, he apparently told her that he had a female roommate, and from the way he explained it, she was definitely weirded out. In that same conversation of when he told me that, he also indicated that he really hoped we would get along and hit it off. So I had mentioned that we should plan dinner once they've been together longer. Jumping forward several weeks to yesterday, my roommate makes plans with me to arrange a dinner with his new girlfriend at our place today. My roommate brings up, completely out of the blue, moving out once his lease term ends. At first he says it's due to wanting a parking spot, which is an older point of the contention that I thought we had resolved. I took the smaller bedroom in exchange for the parking spot and pay slightly less in rent. But the roommate asked if he could have the parking spot a couple of times in the past. He found a hidden alcove with plenty of street parking, so he hasn't really brought up the parking spot in several months. Immediately following the parking thing, he adds, and my girlfriend is a bit uncomfortable. And the moment he said it, I knew that it was most likely the girlfriend causing the issue. He then followed that with mentioning that if I moved out, he would stay. But if I was staying, that he was going to move out. It was pretty civil conversation, but I was really too caught off guard in the moment to say anything. But now that I've had time to process, I feel like I'm at a crossroads. For additional context, I lived in the apartment first by signing the lease by a few weeks. So that is how I was able to secure the parking spot. Other than the parking spot, we had virtually no disputes or issues communicating. Am I the a-hole? If I was in your position, I would pose a question to your roommate. When does it end? Where does this control of who you are around with, live with, any of that stop? Are you just not going to be allowed to have female friends? Because if you sit there and tell the girl that you're dating, hey, I live with a female, but it's not like we have any romantic interest for each other, and we kind of barely see each other in the grand scheme of things. From what she said, they go out to lunch every few months. They may talk in passing, but who knows how long you can actually go without seeing somebody. Sure, they watch TV every once in a while, but they share a living room. They are roommates. There's nothing weird about having a female friend, and that's what I would be concerned with. It's nice that he's dating. It's nice that he found someone to share his time with that's, someone he can actually care for and kind of get that romantic itch out, but you cannot immediately let the fear of losing somebody new completely dwarf your ability to hold on to friendships. She is going to immediately be jealous of every woman that this guy brings into his life. And yeah, where does that stop? It begins with you. It ends with him having no female friends. Okay. And then what? I just don't think that control is healthy. And if I were in your shoes, that's the kind of conversation I would have with them. It's like, okay, if you want to move out, totally fine, okay? I personally need a roommate. I lived here first. I don't think that I should be the one to move out, obviously. But let's talk about this. We actually have a pretty good thing going. We both pay our rent on time. Sure, you want a parking spot, but a lot of apartment complexes allow you to get put on some sort of wait list, and if a new parking spot becomes available, they'll give it to you eventually, but you gotta kind of be on that list for a while. But honestly, I wouldn't give up my parking spot just to have him stay. If you were given this roommate by a landlord or some kind of situation like this, they'll give you a new one. Who cares? But it's just a little weird that this person that he's dating immediately is being like, yo, I don't want you living with a woman. I feel so insecure that I will never get the idea of you two sleeping together out of my head. Even though you can tell me up and down that that is not the case, I will never believe you. I will never trust you, and you just have to do what I say. That is a huge red flag in the beginning to the end of this relationship that he is in. Unless he just wants to completely let her control his life. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let's see what other people are thinking. One commenter says, this is not your problem. Definitely don't take it personally, but I can understand if he wants to move in with his girlfriend, and that's fair. I do think it's weird that she's uncomfortable, but some people's insecurities speak for themselves. Yes, it's an insecurity, and you know what? At some point, wanting to move in with your new girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, is a totally healthy thing. Not everybody is in the situation that I was in, where I was either going to be homeless or move in with my girlfriend of 6 months. And thank goodness she took a chance on me, because we pretty much spent all our time together anyways, and it worked out. It was great. 8 years later, I'm married to her, so it's not going to work out like that for everybody, but if you end up wanting to live with this person, just don't do it too quickly, because that's how you ruin a relationship. That's how things end quickly. Another commenter says, not really the a-hole in this situation. I don't think anybody is. Simply comes down to if you like the apartment location and cost. If you don't move. If you do, don't move. He's a random roommate. You can find another roommate the same way this one appeared. Just like I was saying. Yeah, if a roommate was just like given to you, then another one will be given to you, or you can put up ads, you can find a roommate. I know it does suck trying to go through the process of getting to know a new person, trusting them inside your home when you already have a good thing going. That's why I would personally take the time to really unwrap this. Okay, this girl's clearly jealous, insecure, whatever, with the situation that we're currently in. Either let's find a way to really address this with her so you can feel comfortable in staying if you want to, or simply let him go. Clearly, he's not like your best friend. He's barely a friend if you barely do things together, right? Let him do what he wants. Nobody's the a-hole except for the, new girlfriend is kind of being rude. But whatever. It's, no skin off your back. My husband demanded a paternity test for our teen son and became cold and distant towards him, while starting to favor our daughter. But now the test is back, he's begging for forgiveness, but my son won't talk to him. Any advice? I, 43 female, have been married to my husband, 44 male, for 13 years. We have 2 kids together, a 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old boy. A few weeks ago, my husband came home while our kids were at their aunt and uncle's house and said that he demanded a paternity test for our son. Hey buddy, you're 12 years too late. I was shocked by his request and asked why. And he didn't say anything, he just asked for the test again. I told him that I never cheated or ever been with another guy. He said he knows I would never do that, but just wanted the test. Oh, okay, buddy, you clearly don't believe that, because why would you ask for it? The only way that paternity test would come back anything other than your freaking son would be if she cheated. So if you believe that she didn't cheat, then you don't need the paternity test. But soon after our kids' home, I started noticing how he was treating our son. He became cold and distant, refusing to spend time with him and not wanting to help with any of his schoolwork. Meanwhile, my husband started favoring our daughter, always taking her out on father-daughter days, and always really helping with schoolwork with her. I called him out several times on it, but he never seemed to care, and he continued to do it. A week ago, the test came back, and my husband saw that it was his. He looked remorseful, and went to our son's room to talk to him and gently asked to speak. My son didn't let him, and is asking for his space. My husband nodded and didn't protest. Now I'm staying at a friend's house with my son and daughter. I ended up filing for a divorce, and custody arrangements are in the progress. You don't get to just do that, dude. You don't just get to call your wife a cheater and a liar. You don't get to just treat her like that. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that, OP. That is not okay. And I'm so glad you had enough self-respect for yourself to walk away from that situation. My daughter sees her dad almost every day and spends time with him, but our son won't speak to him or spend any time with him. My husband has been begging to let him apologize to our son. I don't know what to do. On one hand, my husband wants to apologize and see our son, but on the other hand, my son won't even pick up his phone calls. I tried gently talking to my son about it, but he doesn't want to see or speak to his father. What should I do? Unfortunately, OP, there's nothing you can do. They say time heals all wounds, and that's something that's really important to think about in a situation like this. But time might not heal this wound. This is a really deep wound. Your kid feels so utterly betrayed by his father. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything to deserve this. And out of nowhere, his father just started treating him differently. And then when he finds out that his father thought that, like, you cheated, OP, or somehow he wasn't his kid, could you imagine how that would make a child feel? Could you imagine all the things that would go through his head? What, am I not good enough? What did I ever do? Why did you think I wasn't your kid, but somehow my sister is your kid? How do you feel about, like, why? Like, I would be so angry. I would be so furious. And OP, I commend you so much for getting that divorce. Like, I'm so impressed that you did that. You were freaking amazing. And honestly, I'm surprised you even gave him the paternity test. In that situation, I would have looked at him straight in the eyes and been like, hey, look, man, I didn't cheat on you. Either you believe me and we can continue this relationship and you drop this crap and stop treating our son like crap, or I'm out of here and I'm taking the kids, because you don't get to do that to him. You don't get to treat him like that. You don't get to just ice out one half of our kids, because that's not something you can take back. No amount of apologizing is ever going to do anything. Dude, you could show up with a new freaking Mustang and your kid's going to be like, thanks. He's probably going to take the car. He might even pretend to love you for a little bit, but it won't be real. In your heart, you know that's going to be true. Maybe not. Clearly you don't care. OP, I wish there was something that you could do. But honestly, you've been betrayed, your son was betrayed, your sister was betrayed, everyone was betrayed by this man, and the only thing that's going through my head is he was cheating. He was cheating, and he needed something to hold over you, too. He's like, well, okay, I've been cheating, but if you've been cheating too, not a big deal. Totally fine. If you cheated one time in the past and my son isn't mine, I get it. You could forgive me for this girl I've been screwing, right? I got her pregnant. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. You've been in a relationship for such a long time. You have 2 kids with this person. Why would just out of nowhere you think that she is cheating? Why would you out of nowhere think that that kid isn't yours? I just cannot for a second understand it. And I hope he spends the rest of his life trying to make it up to his kid. And he has to also realize that he has to wait for his son to come to him, because he already screwed it up. And OP, you don't owe him anything. The only person you owe anything to is yourself and your kids, which you are clearly doing, right? Don't ever let this guy hurt your kid again, because this isn't something he's going to ever forget. This is a permanent scar in his heart. It's so heartbreaking that he could do that to his kid. I'm going to tear up. I'm going to tear up. That's so heartbreaking. That poor kid. He deserved better, and you're going to give him better. But you know, OP, sometimes the only thing you can do is wait and be there. And if anything, tell your D-bag of an ex-husband to back up. How can I convince my mom that me and my wife need the master bedroom? I'm not going to sit here and write a whole novel trying to explain why this living situation is the way it is. Yes, we can live on our own and she cannot. We currently live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. We're going to sell the home and move into a 3-bed, 2-bath. My mom mentioned that she needs, not wants, the master. She has foot problems and needs a shower as she cannot step into a bath. My argument was that it's me and my wife. We are 2 people with double the amount of things that she has. We need the room so we're not cramped like we currently are. She can use our shower anytime she wants. We're going to talk to her, but we're afraid she'll build up resentment because she thinks it's an ego thing or something, other than just the facts. She tends to take things to heart when we don't mean any harm. If we're going into a bigger home with an extended period of time where we won't be able to leave if we want the house to still feel like a home and like we're a family. If there's any advice that anyone could offer, that'd be great. Thank y'all. You know, OP, I honestly think you have the best argument that you can for this. It's the idea that you are 2 people and that you need more space. Not only more space, but 2 people's set of clothes needs the bigger closet. 2 people's set of everything needs the bigger room in order to actually be able to fit comfortably. It's not a hard thing to understand. If you truly need something to where you can't step into a bath, then, maybe you should have found a house with like a 2.5 bath or something like that. So there's at least 1 bathroom with just a shower or something like that, right? Like, you should have been looking for houses where this was the most important thing, because there's no way in hell 1 person gets the master over 2 people. A few years ago, I got convinced by an old friend of mine to move out to Vegas because not only is it cheap, but you can get way more bang for your buck out there, and we can kind of live a lot nicer, especially if we split the apartment. But when we finally found an apartment that we were able to get, because I'm not going to lie, these people thought they were going to get an apartment, a nice one, or even a home, when they had no credit, no way to show their income, nothing. So we all had to depend on my partner's mother in order to get into a place. It was a shit show and it sucked. But what sucked even harder was the fact that we were all sitting here being like, okay, as the couple, we want the master bedroom. And he sat there and he's all like, no. You don't understand. If I bring a girl home, if I do any of this kind of stuff, I want to make sure they know that I'm a baller, that I'm super freaking cool. So I want the master bedroom. I'll even pay more. And it's like, no. First off, whoever gets the master is paying more. Period. But it didn't stop there, right? It never stops there, because even though we were 2 people and we were going to split the portion of our rent that is the bedroom itself, he was like, no, we should all 4 of us split the rent equally. Wait, no. So you get your own room, your friend gets his own room, but somehow we all split the rent equally, even though me and my wife are sharing a room? No, bud. No. We're going to take the master because we have more stuff and more reason to, and then we're going to split the rent between the 2 of us that is the 1 room, and you guys can split the other part of the rent between how you guys want to. Some people will claim a million different reasons to why they need something without ever considering anybody but themselves. It really does suck that you are in a situation, maybe it sounds like your mom's disabled, like she needs to live with you guys, which kind of gives you a little bit more leeway and, pushing power in the conversation, because she needs you more than you need them. But there needs to be an understanding, and it shouldn't even be a hard one to discuss, that if you are 2 people, you need more space. If you are a couple who is going to be doing extracurricular activities, you're most likely going to want to be able to get up after you're done with whatever the heck you're doing and walk over to a shower instead of having to go through all these extra hoops of going from your room to the shower. She doesn't need the master, but she is the mother, and right now she's in a position thinking like, well, I'm the mom. I'm going to come up with any excuse, but I'm the mom. I deserve the master. That's how it works. Since I'm older than you, since I raised you, since any of this, obviously I get the master, right? Which should have never been a thing. And I'll never understand that. It's like to the point where my mom would like make me as the middle child share a room with my little brother, but we also got the smallest room half the time. Like, shouldn't we get the master? Like, since we have to split everything, shouldn't we get like the nicer place just because you're the mom? You just deserve it. Like, I get it to some degree, but 2 people always deserve the bigger space over other people. Like, it's not a hard concept, and it really does suck that you're having to argue with your mom over that. You need to step up and put your foot down and make sure she understands that in this situation, if everyone's going to move together and feel comfortable, you guys need to be able to be in a space that actually accommodates the 2 of you. It's not about having the shower. It's about having the closet space and the room space, which she does not need, period. And if you really need to use the shower, like you already said, OP, there can be a discussion about when and how she uses it, You obviously don't have free reign to come into our room whenever you feel like you need to take a shower. We need to discuss that because privacy is the most important thing in a healthy environment in a home. But she needs to get off her high horse with all her different excuses. Because I think the idea of you two being a couple far outweighs her being like, well, I can't get into a bath. Like, then use the shower. Problem solved, you cannot have the master. I came home early from camping to find my wife having an affair. I solo camp from time to time, but I never really come home early except for this time. I was camping about an hour away from this past Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I came home Monday evening unannounced due to some unfortunate circumstances, and I heard a male, among some other things, talking to her in our bedroom. The weather was bad. My buddy had to cancel last minute. He was coming out for one of the nights, which is why I really call it solo camping, because for the most part, I'm alone. He was just going to come out and hang out for the night. I really do all the setup. And to make things worse, I lost my phone in the water near where I was camping, so I decided to drive home to at least get my backup phone. I have some other minor work things that I had to take care of Monday morning as well. It's been over 24 hours now. I grabbed some of my stuff and bolted out of there before she knew I was even there. I'm staying at a nearby hotel and really don't know what to do. I don't have family I can talk to, and my friends really aren't the type to confide in. I told one, but he wasn't really the most helpful with listening to me. I need some support, but that really sucks. That really sucks. And, one part of me wants to say, you don't know that they were having an affair. You don't know that she was cheating because, I don't know why a man would be in her room with the door open, with the door closed. I don't know why that situation would happen. I don't know why she wouldn't tell you, like, hey, I'm having somebody over to fix the curtains. I'm having a friend over to have some drinks and whatever. Like, there's a lot of situations that I can see in my head, at least, where it's all like, if I came home unannounced and I heard a man in my wife's bedroom, I just wouldn't go to cheating. I wouldn't go to an affair. Would I feel a little weird? Yeah. And I would immediately go up there. There's no possible scenario that I don't barge in to see what's going on, just for the relief. So I know, because as of right now, you're probably right. Let's just say you're probably 90% right that something like that was happening, okay? But that 10% you owe to your wife, okay? You owe to your partner, you owe to somebody. You owe them the opportunity to give an explanation, and you can decide whether or not that explanation is good or not. Because if you've been in a good relationship and nothing's been going on up until this point, OP, yeah, it does suck. It can seem like something's happening, but there's a lot of reasons why something is happening, right? Not an affair. That sucks. There's no reason that should be happening other than the fact that, like, you are a terrible person in the relationship and her only chance to get out of it is to have an affair. But if you care about this woman and you care about yourself, you owe it to yourself to talk to them about this. To tell them, like, hey, I actually came home Monday evening. And, like, just don't even say anything at that point. Like, let the look on her face, let the body language do a lot of the talking until you actually be like, hey, so who is that man in your bedroom and why was he there? Because that's not an unreasonable question. That's not something that's like, okay, I'm really invading your privacy. I'm really, like, not trusting you. That's like, no. This is a weird situation that you need to explain ASAP. Because you didn't tell me somebody was coming. The only thing that you knew is that I was going to be gone for 3 days, and that's when you chose to have somebody in our bedroom. And that's not okay. Like, I keep thinking of different scenarios. You had a friend over. You guys were having drinks. You guys weren't. Doesn't really matter. And then you took them upstairs to show them some pictures, to see something new in your room, something, right? There's a lot of different situations that I can imagine why they were up there or why they were doing what they were doing in your room. And a lot of them aren't an affair related, but some of them are. And that's where you're always going to wonder. And if you don't talk to them, you're never going to find out. And that would be the worst of everything. To break up, to divorce, to go through these proceedings, and there was actually a reasonable explanation to all of it. Now, again, OP, you have every right in your mind to decide whether or not you want to trust the explanation, and you can probably tell whether or not they're telling the truth. If they are really nervous and they're like, no, you don't understand this, and it just really sounds like excuses, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to believe those excuses. But if she broke your trust, and there's not really something you can do about that. You need to respect your feelings and just go forward in your life knowing that there's going to be somebody else out there that's going to really treat you well and not do this crap to you. That sucks. OP, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I really am. I'm so glad you could get this off your chest, because sometimes men don't have that support network that they need. I really wish that you had somebody to talk to about this, somebody you can confide in, somebody that you knew was going to be able to give you good advice. When something so drastic happens to you, you need that. And if your friends aren't the ones that can do that, then why are they even your friends? I don't care. Dude relationships are so dumb sometimes. Like, you need to be able to be vulnerable. You need to be able to understand things. Like the issue with me and one of my best friends for the longest time is, like, I even told him in our adult life, I'm like, hey man, we've never had a vulnerable conversation. I've never known about your past. I've never known any of these things. The only thing that we ever talk about or do is drink, have fun, party, go to raves, all that other stuff. We never really sat down for a second and talked about the hard stuff in life or confided in each other. And that's something that I always wanted. I've always craved the ability to tell my friends and to the people around me, like, hey, I'm kind of going through something and I need somebody to give me a hug. There's nothing more manly than that. Opie, I hope everything is just a misunderstanding, because it sounds like you work hard and you deserve better. And I hope you get the clarity that you need, or at least the opportunity to get away. But that's just my opinion.
Well, hey,
I'd love to know. If you made it this far, I just want to say thank you. I hope you enjoyed these stories. We're trying to get them out weekly, and we'll catch you in the next one.